when are you going to give yourself permission to earn more? That is the question of the day. Now, let me know in the comments, when you think about the amount of money you're receiving for the services you offer, are you number one where you're like overjoyed, ecstatic, over the moon, like, oh my gosh, more than I would have ever expected in my life? You're there, you're number one. Number two, you're comfortable. And you've been uncomfortable for quite a long time, but you feel, or you're almost yearning for more. So let me know if you're number two. So just write it in the comments, 1, 2, and number 3 is that you feel like, you know, I gotta freaking figure this out, because if I don't, like, I'm gonna have a hard time paying my bills, you know. So I'm at that verge of really struggling and trying to figure this shit out, right? And just so you know, I've been on, you know, I've been on all of them, 1, 2, and 3. And so, you know, number 3, just to give you a little story. When I first moved back to my city, and I decided I'm going to teach yoga. That's what I decided. I decided I'm going to teach yoga. That's my decision, right? And so I was hustling, I was teaching all these different classes, and you know, I was just getting started teaching, right? And it came to a point where I was walking in a mall and I saw all these people eating, and I thought to myself, wow, you know, if nobody was looking, I would literally eat those leftovers, because I was in that very first stage where it's like I decided, yes, I'm going to teach yoga full time, and that's what I'm going to do, and there's nothing stopping me. So I was like in hustle mode. I was in survival mode. So I've been in all 3. I've also been in that place where it's like, yeah, comfortable. Yeah, this is good, you know. But I also felt like, oh my gosh, you know, I know and I feel and I yearn for more. And now I'm at this place where it's like, holy shit, like, oh my gosh, all of these dreams, all of these, hello Jennifer, hello, hey girl, I'm happy you're here. Hopefully your phone is plugged in this time. So number 1 is like, I asked a question at the beginning, you know, when you think about the amount of money you're making for your services, is it number 1 where you're like over the moon, overjoyed, so excited, you're like, oh my gosh, I actually never really imagined that this was possible? Okay, good, good, Jen. So are you feeling number 1? Okay, so just write in the comments, you're 1. Number 2, comfortable. You're in the comfort zone. You're kind of like, you know, it feels comfortable, but you secretly yearn, like, I know there's more than this. And when I talk about your permission to earn more, I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about time. I'm talking about freedom. I'm talking about joy. I'm talking about fulfillment. I'm talking about abundance. I'm talking about feeling like, you know, feeling really good, right? Not saying you always have to be there, but that feeling, right? So how can you give yourself permission to earn all of those things, okay? And so number 1, overjoyed. Number 2, comfort zone. Or number 3, okay? Number 3, I've been here, okay? I've been here, where it's like, dang, you know, like, I gotta pay the rent and I better figure this shit out, because, you know, whoo, you know, hello, Nicole, right? Good morning. I'm in the comfort zone, eyeballing growth and expansion. Yeah, right? And the thing is, it's like, we're gonna, these things, you know, can be, it can be circular in some ways, where sometimes, depending on what we're practicing, it can sort of spiral in different places, right? So number 3 is that survival mode. And again, I've been there before. Like I said at the beginning, I was teaching yoga, hustling, doing all the classes. And at one point, like, I was walking in a mall and I saw everybody eating food. And I'm like, you know, if nobody was watching, I would eat that, like, leftover, you know, rice and whatever, you know? Because I was really in that place of like, I'm doing this. I've decided. Okay, so that's a big thing. I've decided that I'm going to do this. All right. So let me know 1, 2, or 3. Where are you at? And it's no shame, no judgment. It's just to know, like, where am I at? And let's get real where I'm at, right? And so the other question that I want to ask you guys is, do you have an income goal, monthly and yearly? And just take a moment just to think, do you have one? You know? And what would that be? And also just notice, are you in, you know, are you basing it from that overjoy, like, oh my gosh, this would be like out of like this world if I had that? Or is it, yeah, I kind of sort of, this would be comfortable? Or would it be like, I just need like the next, you know, X amount of dollars to get by? Which one is it? Jennifer says, in number 3, no job because Corona, in a happy but limited because I'm only on unemployment. Not complaining, okay? You're not complaining, not working, but very grateful for the amount of money that is, but it's not long-term sustainable, okay? So you have actually really good keys here, Jen, where you're saying like you're grateful for the money that you're receiving, okay? And there's one sort of a little bit of a mindset here where you're saying I'm limited because of Corona. Now, I just want to let you know, okay? And you're gonna think this is really annoying for me to say this, but I have some really good soul sister friends, colleagues who are literally making 5 figures and 6 figures a month during this whole pandemic. You know, so in per year, millions. So I just want to let you know that what's the possibility? I'm not rubbing something in your face, but sometimes when we haven't seen a red tree, we're like, what? No, huh? That's not even possible, right? But your mind has to sort of process it. So I want you to just notice that I have given you how, I know, like how, okay? And the real question is, Jen, the real question is not how, but when. That's why I titled this topic, when are you going to give yourself permission to earn more? Because that's really what it is. Because you know that millionaires exist. You know billionaires exist, right? Hey, Tashana. Okay, I want to call you Tashi, but I don't want to... I don't want to like insult you, but I'm happy you're here. Thank you for being here. Okay, so you know they exist, but it's like bridging the gap of how they got there, right? And one of the big things is that they decided, right? And they also gave themselves, they allowed themselves, right? They gave themselves permission. So let me get into the formula here, because I asked you 2 specific questions. 1, 2, and 3 were about how it felt. Overjoy, comfort zone, or survival mode, okay? That was the feeling around it. And then the second question I asked was, what was your target? What is your specific monthly or income goal? Let me know yes or no if you have one, okay? And if you don't, I would suggest you write one down now and assess where it's coming from. Is it the overjoyed over the moon? Oh my gosh, like I would die if I had 5 figures a month, right? Or $1 million in, you know, a year. That would be freaking crazy. Or would it be, oh, this is a comfortable, reasonable amount. Oh, this is great, right? Or is it like, dang girl, I just need to like freaking, you know, get the next paycheck in, right? Combination of 2 and 3, right? So yeah, and then sometimes we kind of like toggle between 1, 2, and 3. Now here's the formula I want you guys to really pay attention to. Yes, I have a goal. Yes, girl, you do, yeah. Okay, so I want you to see that I asked you about 1, how it feels, the frequency, and 2, if you have a target. Because everyone can have a target. Everyone can say, yeah, man, I want like $1 million a year. That would be amazing. But if your frequency is coming from survival, if it's coming from like, what the fuck, or if you're coming from this place of like judgment of other people who have money and they're greedy and all this shit, or you're like, what? Like you just can't even fathom yourself there. You can you can make that through hustle, through grind, through force, but the frequency is not going to be sustainable, and you will burn out when you're always pushing from an empty cup, pushing from that survival, pushing from those kind of lower negative emotions of judgment, of guilt, of just like feeling like it needs to be this forced thing that needs to happen, right? It's effective, but it's not necessarily the most efficient. Okay, so you can have a target and you can definitely reach that target, but we all know people who have a lot of money, but they're like burnt out and like unhealthy as heck and unhappy and never satisfied because that void is not being filled. Of the other frequency of allowing yourself to earn joy, to get paid with fulfillment, to get paid in the frequency of, fun, to get paid in the frequency of like, holy shit, right? So those two categories are super duper important. Your target and the target of accuracy. Okay, so it needs to be accurate, because you can say, yeah, man, I want more money. What does that mean? More like you want more, here's $10, there's more money, right? I want to work more. And I made that mistake, right? When it's like, okay, oh my gosh, I'm like working like a mad woman all over the place, a billion trillion things happening. I have all of these like random dispersed things I'm doing, and I'm hustling. And yeah, that was working more. But you see, my target wasn't specific. I want to work more. So let me give you an example. I want to work 3 hours working on my business. I want to work 3 hours in my business. And this is important. I want to work 3 hours, and the rest of the day is about rest and play. Right? That's a specific target. That's like, and I want to help these specific people in this way, earning this much. All of those things are decisions. Do you see? And it's all of a sudden a switch of allowing yourself, oh my gosh, to know that this is a possibility. Because when you are in survival mode, the only thing you're going to see, especially if you're not, as I always talk about, cleaning your spiritual house physically, mentally, and emotionally and energetically, you're always going to be in fight, flight, or freeze mode. And you're only going to see the problem, like, oh my gosh, I don't have enough money. Oh my gosh, I don't have enough money. Oh my gosh, I don't have enough money. And you're not going to put yourself in the frequency of possibility. So I'm here to tell you, even if you're in number 2 and number 3, where you're probably either you're probably somewhat vague on your target and how you want it to look, and you have not necessarily a plan of how to get there, and that's what we work on in our program with our clients. And you're constantly in the frequency of not enoughness. You're like, fuck, when is this fucking gonna happen for me, right? And it's okay. I'm not saying never ever to be there. So I'm working with a client now, and 2 weeks ago, I mentioned this in our last live. He landed a client worth $2 billion. Okay, in like a very collapsed short amount of time, record time for what his company normally does. And we've been working on together for a while, and we've been working on clearing this. And I asked all of you guys, what's your chronic go-to emotion when you're stressed? So his chronic emotion was like, why am I not like worthy? Why aren't people seeing how I'm an expert? So it's this sort of like not enoughness, this unworthiness that was there, and it was constantly coloring everything that was happening in his workplace. So we learn how to see it, and it's never really gonna poof go away, but we learn how to see it, clear it, and hold that part of you, because we all have it. We all have that place in us, that of abandonment, rejection, unworthiness, not enoughness. We all have that as human beings. We, in our program, learn how to hold that with the most tenderness and grace, right? And at the same time, learn how to also put our energy in possibility. So the other thing we did, so the possibility part for us is we looked at, okay, you landed this $2 billion client, so what the heck did you do? What were the, and so we start to gather data, right? You did A, B, C, D, you did all of these things. So your frequency, that antidote, your frequency and the targets were very much accurate, and at the same time, your frequency wasn't like not enoughness. It was like, you know, this place of joy and possibility. And when he landed that client, we also celebrated, okay? Because that's the other thing too. I want you guys to think right now, like, this is, you guys right now are living a life that you have already dreamt of. Meaning to say, we get to a certain point in our life, in our journey, where we don't realize, oh my God, I actually dreamed of having this life. I actually dreamed of being a teacher. I actually dreamed of being a mom. I actually dreamed of living in a house like this. I actually dreamed of having kids, right? So raise your hand and let me know, like, oh yeah, actually when I was maybe a teenager, you know, I actually dreamt this life. So my example, I talked about this when I taught yoga on Tuesday, was like, I used to watch Cosby Show. Let me know if you guys watch that show, okay? And they had what they call the brownstone, right? Oh, I love that. Yeah, they had a house called the brownstone, and I was like, oh yeah. When I was younger, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna live in that kind of house. It looks so cool. And they look like so affluent. Oh my gosh, right? They were like my idols. And so, lo and behold, I'm living in that type of house now. I'm living in an affluent neighborhood. I'm going out to restaurants, right? All of these things that you guys probably do today, that you may even take for granted, but you actually dreamt of it. And usually when you're a child, you're in that frequency of, lo and behold, what? Joy, abundance, wonder, fulfillment, you know, fun. Okay, are you starting to see this connection here? Let me know if this is resonating with you guys, and if you have any insights, write it in the comments, because I want to hear what this is bringing up for you. And it's important to kind of be part of the process so that you can start to process your own stuff, because that's how this works, right? We don't get to $1 million by just sitting back and saying, right? We are like, we go closer. She said 5 figures a month. Jennifer was like, what, how? Lean in, because you're like, what? Let me freaking know the goods, because I want to know, right? Like, just like a child, right? When a child is like, oh my gosh, what is that? We get curious. We get curious about our chronic emotions that keep on coming up. We get curious, what frequency are we overjoyed, in that place? Do we reside there? Are we in number 2, comfort zone? Okay, because comfort zone seems like a happy place, but it's neither here nor there. It's not overjoyed, and it's not survivable. You're kind of like, meh. Yes, I was thinking about how my life is like a dream. It would be, and that's it. So Nicole says, yes, I was thinking about how my life I dreamed of. It would be, yes, right? And this is so important to see. So if you guys are in survival mode, I want to tell you something. It is possible to be confused about your dream. Okay, so I'll just tell you something about confusion, all right? Our intellectual mind loves to stay in problem solving, okay? And so the minute we think of possibilities, like, ooh, I can do that, ooh, I can do that, ooh, I can do that, we will circle in problem solving and confusion to kind of stay comfortable, because it's very comfortable to think about things. Think about, like, the moment where, for example, you went to that party that you almost didn't go to, and then you realize you had so much fun there. Think about that, like, class you went to, the boot camp class that you almost weren't going to go, but then you went and you're like, damn, this is so good, right? Think about, like, that person that you saw on the street and you weren't going to say hi, but then you said hey, and then you had such a nice connection. So when we rest too much, Deshauna, in this place of let me think about it, let me think about it, let me think about it, let me think about it. And we get confused. And confusion is the place that perfection loves to live in. Because there's no perfection about this. When you're going on this journey and you're looking to achieve big things, you're gonna fall on your face and you're gonna be like, okay, let me try this thing. And there's gonna be many things about it that we're gonna try and we're gonna expand. And then we're gonna try and we're like, ooh, right? We're gonna be in this place where we're reaching our growth edge. And right when we reach our growth edge, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? Because we all have in our mind subconsciously what we're allowed to make. And when we reach that edge, a confused mind always says no. And exactly what Nicole says, right? When you let yourself go, right? Should I go to that party? Should I not go to the party? I'm confused. Okay, I'm going to stay home in my pajamas. When really, oh my gosh, if you had went to that party, you would have met really cool people. You would have had the time of your life. You would have remembered how it was to be like a teenager, like all that stuff. Because we stay in that place because it's a safety zone. And so what happens, and this is what happens when your income is in the comfort zone, we all have a number in our mind, and the number is, okay, so Nicole says, yes, it can be cleared by asking yourself, what would you love? Oh yes. What would you love? What would you love? And this is it. As soon as, Tashana, you think about what you love, you're like, oh yeah, that's exciting. Comfort zone is going to be like, hey, this is how it works. You have this upper limit, right? And you start expanding. You're like, I would really love to do that. I would really love to teach like children with these kind of like abilities, right? Right? And then as soon as the outside world kind of gives you any little hint that that's not like really possible because you're not, being reasonable, it's going to come back to your comfort zone. And then you're going to go back into confusion. And that's the pattern. So what starts to happen is that you stay in the problem. Instead of allowing yourself to play in possibility. Is this making sense, Tashana? Where it's like the confusion, and it's such a great question, and I'm so happy you asked that because I know a lot of entrepreneurs can spend a lot of time there. Me included. You can spend a lot of time there. But a lot of time there means I'm in the problem. This is the problem. What's the problem? How do I fix the problem? Instead of, oh my God, what's the possibility? Because when you start to clear your physical body through exercise, through motion, through movement, when you start to clear your mind, when you start to clear your energy, and this is all things that we've been working on, Tashana, right? When you get to that place, all of a sudden you have these little downloads. And it's like, this little spark of like, ooh, my God, I can do that, right? And then we have to allow ourselves to dance in possibility, even though you can't see it outside of anything else you've known. So Jennifer, when I'm saying like, oh my gosh, I have like my coaches who are making 5 figures a month, my coaches who are like making millions of dollars a month, I let myself dance in that possibility, and guess what? Those coaches magnetized towards me. I actually met coaches, real life human being coaches, in that vortex because I allowed myself the possibility that it is real, right? And so Tashana says, yes, you're right. I know I'm capable of spreading my wings, but I need to stop staying stuck in fear. All right. So here's the real deal. The chronic fear that keeps on coming up, is there to say, hi, it's me again. Because you need to look at me, right? And you just think, oh, that's the problem, you're the problem. But really, you need to look at me so that you can get curious and you can learn how to also meet my needs. So if I have this need to be perfect, if I have a need to, I love how you guys are talking in the chat, it's beautiful, right? So it's like, you see how everybody is going through the same thing, guys, right? so there's these needs. So these things that are these wounds, these deep-rooted wounds, will continue to show their face in your physical body. In your mind, you'll have stories, and in your energy, you'll maybe feel stuck and contracted, and maybe you don't want to do anything. You don't want to do anything with your body. You don't want to do anything in your mind. You don't want to do anything with your energy, right? There's a chronic pattern, and that chronic pattern will not, and I'll tell you this, will not go away until you actually move closer and say, hey, come right here. I want to hear you. I want to see you. What is it that you need from me? And that's the deep work we do in our program with our clients. We do what we call a 3-level clearing, where it's like we start to see the chronic pattern, because it is a pattern, and I'm sure all of us have it. That's why I asked, what is your go-to emotion when you get stressed? And some people were saying like, I contract, right? Some people were saying like, I get irritated. Some people are like, Kate was saying like, raging bitch, like, right? Everybody was allowing that part of themselves to be seen, which is so important, because that's what it needs, right? And then when we can really see it, right? When we can really see that the physical manifestation, the mental manifestation, the energetic manifestation, we can transform it. And that's what we do in our program, right? Where I teach you to really get clear in your spiritual house. And when you do that, then you have clarity in what it is that you want to offer. Because deep down, you already know what you want to offer. Okay? But it's putting that back into your priority. Putting it back into your priority. Letting your soul be the driver. Right? Not the problem solving, fixing, perfection person. The soul saying, hey, go try this. Hey, yeah, try that. Hey, try that. And allow yourself to get paid. Allow yourself to get paid in the joy that you've earned, maybe by you learn from the experience. Nothing is ever lost. Maybe you connected with somebody, right? So again, the final outcome is not always money, but if you reside in those frequencies of grace, when you reside in the frequency of joy, of fun, guess what? The money will follow, right? And that's where you want accuracy in your target, because you might just say, again, I want more money. Okay, $10 more. Okay, sure, right? So Jennifer says, I actually panic too and get anxiety and shaky and sweat. And sometimes I get overwhelmed, right? When it comes to stress. And I also feel super rushed, right? And I'm so happy you brought that up, Jennifer, because essentially why that happens is that any time, right, anything starts to look like, ooh, that's what I want, you're always going to have what I call, your deep-rooted wounds, those inhibitors that are going to show up, right? And they're going to say, hey, remember, they're going to be this wound. But really that wound is trying to say, look at me, please. Every time you get anxiety, shaky, overwhelmed, it's saying, you need to look at me and learn how to hold me, right? And that is, again, deeper work. It doesn't just happen from breathing in and out. You need to have that courage, right? The decision to say, hey, you know what? And the thing about this is with the coaching, and I have a lot of coaches, guys. I have my own coaches, okay? Oh yeah, I just put that all together and I realized it's fear, right? And we all need a bit of fear, right? We need the joy, we need the abundance, we need the fun. We need a little bit of fear, otherwise we don't have that survival to kind of move forward. But if the fear takes over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's the only thing that is dominating, it's the only thing that's driving the bus, it's going to be a chronic thing that continuously is going to be put in front of your face until you actually look at it. And then when you do that, and that's what we do in our program, we clear that, then you will have room for that clarity that comes in for your dream. And so when you have coaches, they're going to keep you accountable, right? And when you have a coach that has gone through all of this stuff, because trust me, I have dealt with anxiety, I have years of insomnia, panic attacks, so I know all about this, Jen. Okay, so I'm talking here from experience. So I'm not just like, ooh, you know, yeah, I teach yoga and like, yeah, it's like it's good for everybody. No, I tend to attract people who have deep anxiety and depression because why? I've gone through that. So when you start to distill your program, and Tashana, this speaks to you, it's very often, right? You'll attract people who are also dealing with what you have dealt with. So you are all on a certain path where you have figured something out. Yeah, all of my issues, right? But all of your issues are all of humanity's issues. You see? And the way humanity moves and evolves out of it is to not just see the light and see whatever, but also to hold that part of us that is our shadow, that is the one that's yearning to be seen. And when you have the courage to do that, that deeper work, that's when, because it's 96% of our subconscious mind is what is running the show. So unless we are able to work with that and have tools to work with that, it's always going to drive the bus. No matter how much we will, how much we power through it, how much we're like, yeah, right? We have to learn how to clear that, and then we'll have much more room for the frequency of joy, the frequency of abundance, the frequency of appreciation. Okay? So that's what it is. It's essentially not when will you earn more, not how will you earn more, but when. When will you finally decide, I'm going to do that deeper work, because that's all your personal growth and your business growth are equivalent. Okay? They're always going to be the mirror of each other. And that's why our program is unique, because we talk about that part, right? Because I can give you all the amazing business strategies in the world, but if you don't clear your spiritual house, it's going to be very hard to continue to expand, and then expand a little more and expand a little more. My client who landed the $2 billion client, because we've been learning, we cleared his stuff, and because we've been learning how to stay in expansion and possibility, guess what? He landed another client. Again, he collapsed time with his expertise, and you all have expertise. And that's the other thing that we want to start to accept in ourselves. I have a unique experience. I have changed people's lives, right? And so when you can start to see yourself and your own expertise, which is basically your own experience, right? So it's not like you have to get more certificates. I'm not saying not to do that, okay? But that's not what's going to make you more money. What's going to make you more money is going to be when you finally decide, I'm earning right now. I'm earning more. I want to earn more. When you decide when, not how. And then the how comes after, because once you've made the decision, then you're going to start to see opportunities. And if you're open to them, right, because life is always going to say, oh yeah, you want more, so it's going to give you those opportunities. But if you're not, if you're in problem solving mode, you're not going to be able to receive those possibilities. Is this making sense to you guys? Are you guys seeing how that the being there stops from the possibilities? Because life will always give you everything you need, and it already has. That's the thing. The fact that you're sitting in a comfortable home with clean running water and food to eat, life is already supporting you. So when we can abide there, right, then it's like things magically happen, and you need both. So for example, one of my clients, I'm going to give you the last example. One of my clients, she's been, hustling as a fine artist for a long time, long time, right? And magically, okay, this is how the formula can work, like either or. Magically, somebody called her to commission a painting for $4K. I said this story before, but I want to say it to you again, especially for you guys who have the starving artist archetype, right? It's the same thing with yoga teachers. We have like the, starving artist like persona, that bohemian persona that we sometimes unconsciously put ourselves in, right? Because we're comfortable there, because it's easier there, because it's like, okay, right? And so somebody called her asking her for her service. Why? Because she was doing the targeted work, okay? Painting, 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 painting. She was a little bit too spread thin, so we worked on that as well. But then, when we start to clear, in 4 weeks, guys, we start to clear, right, her body. She started to live in her body, because we can only work in this world through our body. Start to clear our mind. Start to clear her energy. Poof, in week 4, it's like all of a sudden the target that she's been going through, because she added the frequency, they came together. Do you see this now? Do you guys are you guys seeing how the accuracy and target and the frequency both need to be there, right? Because also, if you're just in frequency, right? If you're just like, I want abundance, it's very vague. It's very vague, and you will get it. And maybe life will say, here, let me give you a rainbow. Here, let me give you some waterfalls. Here, let me give you singing birds, right? And that's very abundant. But if you're in the problem-solving mode, you're not going to be able to receive it. And it's also going to be hard for your brain to say, oh, accurately, oh, this is the target I wanted. Okay? So Jennifer's saying, what exactly is a starving artist persona? I have many paintings sell I finished weeks ago, but I fear is stopping me. Okay, so it's the starving artist persona is like it often is portrayed in the movies, where it's like, you know, the street artist that is making a couple of bucks for their thing, and they're constantly being sort of in this thrifty sort of like space where, you know, never really imagining, oh my gosh, I can make 4 figures, 5 figures. Then that's what we're working on with our client, right? She hit the 4K, and now we're going to work into the 10K, into the 50K. You see, she's now in that threshold where it's like, whoa, and we're going to even allow her to expand even more in that possibility. So the starving artist is that one that's always hungry for the next thing, always starving for recognition, always starving for validation, always starving to make it big, right? Always starving for the path to get there, always starving for the mindset, for the mind, mental, right, energy path to get there, right? I don't know if that answers your question, but it's like that bohemian, right? and we have a lot of artists in that category, sometimes even unconsciously, right? Because maybe they feel that's more noble, or it's less greedy or something. So there's something, the fear is just the surface, Jen, of what is the script. The script in your body, when you say, like, you get that overwhelmed, anxious feeling, there's a script there that was imprinted in you. Because maybe when you were younger, all of a sudden you did this beautiful painting, your parents were like, whatever, man, like, you know, put it in the garbage, let's recycle it, or whatever, if they even recycle. Right? Okay? And then every time you feel like you're in expansion, what's going to happen is that old script is going to pop up again. And so, remember what happened? And it's like it literally, chronically will play over and over and over and over and over again. And until you do the deeper work to clear that script, to even first of all see what the script is, right? Physically in the body, mentally what's the story, and energetically, then it's always going to come up. So it's a surface, and this is not an intellectual process. We can't just say, I need to get over the fear. There's no getting over. There's moving into and being able to hold our fear. Because this journey, we're always going to have a bit of fear. It's actually important. I'm not going to just jump off the side of a cliff with no fear. I mean, some people do, right? But there has to be a little bit of fear so that we have accuracy in our target, right? We actually plan what's happening. Okay? Last story. This guy, I know, I don't know if you've seen this, but this, you know, climbers who climb without a rope, okay? There was a first climber who climbed this crazy, insane mountain where it's like, sometimes it's just like their little fingers were here and their little like foot was here and they were climbing the mountain. He must have climbed that mountain like fell, I don't know how many times. And he wrote down every single move on the way to the top. 3 hours and a half of this, then this, and then this, and then this, right? So his fear got him to be accurate, okay? And hey, Claudia, I'm so happy you're here. We're almost at the end, but you're gonna make it for the meditation. But honestly, watch the beginning so that you can start to see the formula that I gave about accuracy in your target and frequency and how important it is and what category, namaste my love, right? What category you're in. So you start to gain clarity. That makes sense, clarifying. I think it's been me my whole life. Yeah, we all have some script, and this is the reason why we are not permitting. Okay, you're teaching at noon, all good. Permitting, I'll be here until noon. We are not permitting, but come back to the replay, I'm telling you. Okay, this will really help solve the problem that I think most artists and yogis are trying to figure out, like how the freak do I earn more, right? And so that script is our permission slip. That old script, Jennifer, is our unconscious script of, let's say when you were a kid, you were only allowed to be this loud, but no louder than that. You were only allowed to show this much of yourself, but then you have to be quiet, or you have to go, just sit there, right? That's the old script that keeps on replaying your whole life. And we all have them, and we're always going to have those scripts. And every time we want to expand and earn more joy, space, freedom, money, it's going to come up and say, hey, have you looked at me? Hey, are you taking care of me? And it's going to incessantly be there until you actually look at that. So that's what we do with our clients, okay? So I want to get into the practice. If there's any questions, please let me know. I want to know your biggest takeaways, because it seems like you guys, there's some things that are happening here, and this is the beginning, guys. This is the reason why I'm doing this live free training for you guys, so that it's like all of a sudden it's like little things like click, where you're like, what is your aha? What is your takeaway? Because all of a sudden those little takeaways can lead. And that's what I was trying to tell you guys. If you're in survival, like how my client was, where she was constantly hustle mode, and then all of a sudden she decided and she clicked, things can change because this was a matter of 6 weeks. Things can change. Abundance is available to you now. So it's this permission and allowance that, oh my gosh, it is, right? It's shifting that 96% subconscious speak and allowing you to say, oh, that is possible. So when I look at all my coaches, right, who are making millions of dollars, I realize, it is possible. And I'm also going to allow myself to go into that possibility. Okay? So for the last 15 minutes, we're going to do a meditation. So please, again, write your questions, your takeaways. I want to hear them. If you're here on the replay, #replay. We're going to do a receiving meditation, because this is about what you're willing to receive. This is your bliss. This is the bliss side of it, what it could be. Again, the deeper work still must happen, because otherwise, if you're always going into bliss, it's sort of like this maintenance. It's kind of like taking a drink every day and ooh, you feel good. You do yoga practice and ooh, you feel good. But the chronic emotion that always surfaces will always surface until you go to the root. Okay, but I want to give you guys a glimpse of how amazing your life is in this moment. So take a moment now, okay, to breathe in, breathe out. Because the more you practice this, because what we habitually practice is how shitty our life is, right? We have a negative bias as humans. The more you practice this, the more it's going to be you're going to see more possibility around you. Okay, so take a moment here to breathe in, to breathe out. First things first, breathe in, calm your nervous system. Breathe out. We'll be here till noon, so that's when we end. Breathe in. That's our target. Exhale. 1 hour of juiciness. Inhale here. Exhale. If you're sitting, press your sitting bones down. If your feet are on the floor, press your feet down. You must live in your body. Okay, so we live through this vessel, so start to literally feel your physical body. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. So I want you yourself to bring yourself back to when you were a teenager, when you were a kid. And I want you to start to think about like all of those things you imagine yourself to do as an adult, right? All of these things like when we're young, like drinking wine or walking on the street or going to a restaurant or paying for food, right? Using a credit card, having kids, having a car. Like when you're a kid, you're like, what? That's just a dream. So I want you to think about all of these like things that you dream about, that you dreamt about when you were a kid. And I want you to take a moment to look to your life right now and open your eyes to how, wow, oh my God, I'm living that dream right now. Holy shit. Take a breath in, breath out, and enjoy the life that you have manifested. This is evidence that we continue and we can continue to manifest the life we want. Okay? Our dreams now seems like this big thing, but we got it done when we were young, right? So like look around and look at your house, look at your kids, look at your car. You have car keys, like, right? You have a bank card, like, right? You have clothes, like, right? All of these adult things. Look right now and see it all with a sense of wonder. A sense of like amazement. It's like, oh dang, it's true. I did want all of this stuff. Oh my God. It may not like be the blue house. Maybe it's slightly pink, whatever. But yeah, it's true. I did want to live in a house with kids and a husband and whatever, or on my own in a nice little affluent neighborhood or whatever it is. I always wanted to be cooking. I always wanted to be painting. Like, see how it is happening right now. See how amazing your life is right now. Breathe it in. Exhale. Breathe it in and then start to really appreciate, like, my life is fucking good. And this is the realm of possibility. You don't just stop here because this would be your comfort zone. You start to, okay, now outside of this, where just like when I was a kid, I imagined this amazing thing happening. What is my dream now? Your dream has started to manifest now as an adult. So understand how manifestation works, right? What's the number? Get accurate about the number, right? Get accurate about the annual amount. And get accurate about what it looks like. Like, how am I going to be doing this? When am I going to be working on my business? Like, how many hours? 2-3 hours? When am I going to be working in my business? Like when I'm serving my clients, when I'm painting, right? The working on is like developing how you do it, right? And then when am I going to rest and play? All three of those things need to be part of the equation, and I teach this with our clients because it's so funny. Sometimes we're just in the thinking mode, or sometimes we're just in the doing mode, or sometimes we're just in the resting mode. We need all three of those things, right? And they need to be balanced, right? So what is it going to look like? What is it going to feel like? Who am I going to be working with? And what is the gift that I want to offer? First impression. Okay, so those of us with confusion, first impression. You already know, your soul already knows. It's always giving you a picture of what it's going to look like, right? And take a moment just to center yourself there, abide there. Let yourself, permit yourself, give yourself permission to play here in possibility. It's nice here, it's fun here, right? Okay? So if you want a clear path, a clear and lucrative path, a way to this dream, where we start to work on your deep-rooted traumas to clear that stuff, so that we can give you a path to distill your expertise and prioritize your soul's whisper. If you want that, then you can book a call, you can DM me and say, yeah, I want a breakthrough yoga discovery call, because we're going to look at what's really stopping you, and I'm going to show you exactly how I do it with my clients, okay? All the clients I've worked with thus far have been at a place where it's like, oh my gosh, couldn't even comprehend what it would be like to have like 4 figures, 5 figures per month. And now they're living that dream. Why? Because we learned how to stay in possibility. And I'm going to be there by your side as your coach, because it's really hard. And I have my own coaches, guys, okay? It's really hard to only have the dream all by yourself and in your head and with other people who maybe have the starving artist thing going on, or they're in survival. It's really hard to be around those people and actually have the clear pathway to your dream and have somebody accountable, right? My client yesterday, she was in this mode where it's like she wanted to do all of this other stuff, but it's like, girl, you need to go to the studio and paint. She sends me this beautiful like selfie. I told her like to send me a selfie of you painting in your studio. What did she do? We reprioritized her dream. What was she doing? Painting the studio, right? So the strategy is not complex, okay? Deep does not have to be complex, is what I always say, right? But it's really when. When are you going to decide to say, yeah, and have the courage to say, yeah, and to have the courage to invest in yourself, to say, yeah, I actually want that. Because it's not a question of how only, it's a question of when are you going to actually decide that's what I want, right? And I'm going to get help to receive that, because all of my clients, they called me and they were at that point where they're like, dude, you know, oh my gosh, this is like, I don't know where to go from here. And it took them courage to say, yeah, please take my hand. And it becomes this collaboration. So it's this decision and it's this courage to work with a coach that will give you that pathway, to give you that target, that accuracy, but also continue to clear with you, right? And that's the uniqueness of our program. We don't just give you the business strategy, because anybody can give you business strategy, right? You have it all over the internet, right? But the reason why it's not happening for you is because that deep work is not being implemented, right? And you need a guide to strategically to hold your hand through that process, because when you look at your shit, you need somebody that's going to be able to hold that for you. Not hold it as if it's theirs, but take their stance and take you through, you know, those darker kind of shadows of yourself, because I've been there before, right? So I'm very certain, because I've worked with thousands of people up till now, that, yeah, I can be there with you, and I can guide you and give you the simple tools, but effective, to take you into that path where you start to clear yourself and then have that clear path. You know, and what happens when you do coaching and when you start to invest in coaching, what starts to happen is you collapse time. So it's like you can go on and on and on and on and on and continue to, you know, gather information, continue to be confused, continue to be in the problem solving, and that will last you who knows how long, right? Or you can learn how to collapse time with somebody who has taken that path and taken other people on that path. So that's it for me. When will you give yourself permission to earn more? Money, joy, fulfillment, health. It is available to you now, right? And it's really just up to you to decide if you want to receive that. That's what it is. It's a permission. It's not because you're not smart enough. It's not because you need another certificate. It's not because anything other than that. It's really just allowing and permitting yourself to take that step that seems scary, because you're stepping out of your comfort zone, you're stepping out of survival, you're stepping out of what you normally are used to into this new possibility. Like, oh my gosh, right? 5 figures a month, wow. And allowing yourself to play there. So if you want to play in that realm, then DM me and I'll send you an application form, and you start to read through, I'll start to read through your answers, and together we can really look at what it is that's holding you back, and what's the possibility, and what's the pathway to get there. Okay, so that's it for me. My name is Jamie Hernandez, founder of Breakthrough Yoga Coaching Method. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. I will come back for sure to write back, and I want to know your biggest takeaways. Okay, so write them in the comments, because it's almost like an open journal. The more you kind of write, the more you process. Okay, so don't just stay stuck in your head in problem solving mode. Okay, get into action, right? And baby steps, get into action. Write down your biggest takeaways, write down your questions. And again, if you want to DM me, and we can do this together. Okay, so my certainty can also be your certainty, right? That self-trust can also be your self-trust, and it's not that difficult to get there.